Hey, good morning. It's a brand new day, and we had some rain last night. I think the rain might have lasted until maybe like real early this morning. I didn't get up till a little bit before 6, probably quarter till, but everything's wet, um, so that's good. We need the rain real bad. Oh my gosh, real bad. Um, and so, gosh, um, I've been thinking and thinking about like yesterday's video, and I've been thinking about you know what I was telling you guys, um, and it's I guess I want to um, give you like more information because I think you deserve to know more, and um, you know it, I don't want it to sound like it's a woe is me thing. It's not. When I was telling you about, you know, what happened to me when I was a kid. Um, so when that guy that lived across the street, um, you know, he he tried to molest me, and I ran. He beat me to the door, and he threw me down on the carpet. He didn't like throw me down on the carpet, but he took me down, and then um, anyway, that was the first time that he had raped me, and then um, you know, physical pain is um, generally recoverable. Um, I'll tell you what was tough was, this whole thing went on with him for 2 years, maybe just a little better than 2 years, but the threats, the very serious threats that he would kill my family, that was a big deal. Um, and as a little kid, I was naive, like to a fault. Um, Youngest of 4 kids. I had two older brothers and an older sister, and um, you know, my brother, my oldest brother and my sister were off living their life. My sister, I think at the time, was in the Navy. My oldest brother, had just gotten out of the Marines, from Vietnam, and um, they weren't home. They weren't around. You might see them at a holiday, maybe, but um, and then my brother, that's 2 years older than me. Um, we didn't really have a very good, close relationship anyway. Honestly, we never really. I guess we never did. Um, but I was terrified that I was going to lose my mom and my dad and my brother. You know, um, just that whole upset. The threat was extremely real, and um, that is as bad, I think, as the physical action that took place against me with this guy. And so, during that 2 year period, he made it really clear uh, that I better not quit his yard. Um, I mean, it was he kind of laid down the threats, and so for 2 years, um, you know, I couldn't even begin to estimate how many molestations took place. Um, I'm going to just give an educated guess, if that makes any sense at all. 2 years is like 600, right? 3, 6, 7, 700 days. Probably about a couple of hundred times, or real close to it. And a lot of times when he would do the molestation, not a lot of times, a few times that he would do molestation, he would get a Polaroid camera out, and he would snap pictures of what he was doing. But every time that he raped me, he would always get that Polaroid camera out, and he would he almost got off on me crying. I mean, there wasn't a time that I didn't cry. There wasn't a time that it was just like being brutally, viciously attacked. His personality would just switch. He was, when he wasn't like that, he was, he was kind of funny and, I don't know, sort of a jokester, I guess, kind of guy. But when he was attacking me and violating me, and as those progressed, he would anyway, it would be like longer periods of time, but and I've anyway, his wife found the pictures, and she, this is so weird. It's honest God truth though, but she called my mom, and my mom, was drinking, and my mom comes busting into my room. I think I was probably close to 13. You know what? Maybe I was 13, because I was going in. I think I was going into 8th grade, and so anyway, she comes in my room and she's like, "What did you do to so and so's yard and stuff?" And I go, "I haven't done anything to." And she said, "Well, so and so called. I don't want to say their names, and I'll tell you why after some time. It's infuriating why I can't even say their names. It really is." Anyway, so and so my mom, it's like, "You get over there and make it right. I don't know what you've done, but you better make it right." And here's what's crazy, is that if that was one of my kids, first of all, I wouldn't have been drunk, okay? And if it was one of my kids, I would have gone over there with my child. I wouldn't have just sent them out over there. And that sounds super critical. You got to understand, I loved my mom and dad. I really loved my mom and dad. I just, and when, they became Christians before they died, and they, not like right, it wasn't like deathbed confession or something like that, but they, I'll tell you that whole story sometime about, it's pretty cool how the Lord came into our family. But anyhow, so I went over there, and his wife answered the door, and she was just like all swollen-eyed, and it had been obvious she'd just been sobbing, and she brought me in the house, closed the door, and she had this what do they call them, like occasional chairs. There was like 2 chairs, right? The one that he had me sit in 2 years earlier. That's kind of funny. I guess they never changed their furniture around. My mom changed the furniture around our house all the time, all the time. Anyway, but the chair that was across the living room, and it had a hassock, an ottoman footstool, and she sat me down on there, and the stack of Polaroid pictures was next to her chair, and I saw that, and I just was just guilt, because I thought this is all my fault, and I'm gonna come back. Hey, and so he had a bottle of, I think, like Jack Daniels or something like that, and he was in the kitchen, which would be where she was sitting, would be like to her right. There was an opening that went in the kitchen. Where I was sitting, it'd be to my left. He came close to the doorway, to entryway to the living room, and she shot him a glare that he's glaring at me like I'm toast, and she shot him a glare, and man, he turned around and just went back in. The kitchen was connected to kind of like a little family room area, and so maybe it was like an eating kitchen or a dining. Anyway, and so he stayed in there, and this was a first experience. But she took my hands, and she just grabbed my hands, and she prayed, and she prayed to Jesus. I'd never heard anybody. She just did. She prayed, and she asked Jesus. She said, "Please don't let this mess up his life." And so anyway, and she just cried. She hugged me, and honestly, that was it. You know, that was it. After that, she divorced him. I didn't go to their house anymore, and I thought, you know, we're gonna get sniped. He's gonna kill us, and so here's what's crazy is she never told my parents. She never told. She never called the police. Never told the police. She was just boom, gone. They had a baby. I often wondered if he did anything to her. Wonder. But anyway, she took off. He came over one time. He lost the house pretty fast, pretty quickly. He couldn't afford it, and on his own. And anyway, he came over. My dad was in the front watering these roses, and I saw him come across, and I just, he didn't have a gun, knife, nothing, and he just had this countenance, like this jolly, happy kind of, and I didn't go outside. I just kind of watched from the windows, and anyway, and I saw my dad like you know, and I saw this guy's countenance like change, kind of back off, went back across the street, and I said to my dad, I go, what happened? I go, what did he want? What was going on? This is bizarre, you guys. This is where my life has been so blessed, is that he asked. I had never seen snow fall. I'd never seen the snow. Growing up in Arizona, that's not unusual. If we vacationed, we didn't like go to the snow. Um, and so I think my parents had their fill of that from where they came from when they moved to Arizona. But but he asked my dad since I hadn't seen the snow, if he could take me up to Flagstaff so that I could see the snow. My dad told me that he said, what the F are you think you're asking, Why, why would you blank, blank, blank think, you know, get out of here and I don't want you to come back over here. I have, anyway, you know what? If dad, my mom always thought he was such a great guy. He's so handsome and he's so, blah, 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 blah. Um, and, and so, anyway, um, if my mom probably would have let me, or arranged it. I mean, maybe that's wrong to say, but she didn't make the best decisions and stuff. If my dad would have let that happen, you know what? And his wife didn't turn him in, and his wife didn't do anything. She was pretty much impotent through any me getting any kind of justice, or any kind of justice happening for somebody like him. He should have gone to prison for life. But he could have killed. I was. What is that? I was the evidence. He could have killed me, and just wow, Bobby ran away. He took off. Yet I don't know what happened to him, or some people came and abducted him, or he was eaten by a bear. And so, my dad was my hero. My dad was a good man. And I'm not saying my mom wasn't a good woman. She was a handful. I think she must have been quite a handful for my dad. They never argued because he was lashing out. They argued because she just all the time. I mean, well, not all the time, but when she drank. So usually all the time. But she wasn't a morning drinker, thank God. Yeah. She'd wait till she got home from work, and then she would, I used to watch her. We had, the bathroom had this big powder room, and it was in the toilet, and the shower and bathtub and stuff was in another room. And this powder room, had a big vanity and sinks and everything. And I used to watch her putting her makeup on and doing all this stuff, doing her hair before she'd go to work. And she would open up a little bottle and take a couple pills. She would always look at me and she goes, "I'm just preparing for the day." So this was like, whoosh, it just went over my head. I just thought, okay, that's what you do. That's, you just take a couple pills to prepare you for the day. And anyway, and so anyway, this guy's wife divorced him. He lost the house. And now I think 8th grade, and I didn't start going through puberty until I was late, probably maybe end of 8th grade, starting to go into high school maybe. and um, and it seemed like about the time that I started going through puberty is when the luggage started to unpack. That's when um, there were girls I was interested in, but I didn't know how to date. By that point in time, this is awful, and it just, you know what, it is what it is, okay, but um, gosh, I remember, when I reached about 14, so I was going in high school then, and my older brother that lived at home with us, he was getting close to 16, and there was this guy that my brother made friends with when he was in Vietnam, and this guy's name was Jim. And anyway, my parents did a lot for him. I don't think he did anything for my parents, but they did a lot for him. And I remember my dad telling me that, well, my mom telling me that he was from an abused home. If they only knew, he was from an abused home, and like his dad used to tie him to the bed, so that he couldn't leave his room and stuff. Anyway, stuff like that. I don't know how true any of that stuff is, but my parents did a lot for him, and but he was just like a horn dog. I mean, he really was. He never did anything to me or anything like that. He did all this stuff to himself. But anyway, I think he was the one responsible. I think. Actually, I'm pretty sure, for my brother, who was 2 years older than me, 2.5 years older than me, to get a subscription to Playboy, and it started coming to the house, and my mom was like, "Oh, boys will be boys," and and everything, and so that became a normal. It became normalized, and there was on the coffee table we had a Bible that, for the most part, it wasn't really covered with dust, but it was just never cracked. It was never opened. But next to it would be 2 or 3 issues of Playboy, and as time progressed, it became 2 or 3 issues of Playboy and a couple issues of Penthouse, and so I've got all this stuff, right? This trauma stuff that I'm still not talking about, because I'm still like, what? I'm not going to even take that risk. Even though this guy had lost the house and he was gone, and there was a new couple living in that house, if they only knew, right? Man, if that couple only knew, I wouldn't want to live in a house like that. I'd be going through, anointing all the windows and the doorways, and praying Psalms over, Psalm 91 or something over everything. But anyhow, I derailed. I'm so sorry. Let me think where I was headed with all this, but okay, this is awful. But so I'm this little kid starting puberty, and I'm reading, like, what was it called? It was in Penthouse. Call Me Madam. It was this question answer column thing. Xavier Hollander was this, like, retired prostitute. What'd you retire from? Oh, prostitution. Anyway, she was this retired, and people would write in, and some of the stuff was like really twisted, and I was like, wow, I know what that is. That happened to me. And so this is like, you know, how like with the computer, garbage in, garbage out, garbage in, garbage out. Um, by the grace of God Almighty, when I was 15, I didn't have my driver's license yet, and I'm sure 4 minutes after I had my 16th birthday, I probably was getting my driver's license. So, um, anyway, I think I was 15, and there was a girl that I was interested in. Um, I just thought she was really cool. She's about a year younger than me, and her name was Jane. I thought she was so pretty and really hot. And the cool thing is, her mom was, I think it was called Episcopal, and she was what was popular at the time called charismatic. You know, praise Jesus, right? And now that's like normal. Praise Jesus. Yeah, you have to be. Um, and anyway, she, um, you know, her mom had a bunch of kids over at the house all the time. And she would play this music, and she would tell us, you know, okay, we'd be standing up in the living room, and she'd go, okay, everybody lift your hands, lift your hands. Okay, now move your hands, move your hands. And and the music was playing. It was like, I grew up watching Jack LaLanne with my mom when I was, you know, a kindergartner. And anyway, you know, music would go ahead and, you know, put our hands down. She goes, do you know what you kids were doing? Do you know what you guys were doing? You know, yeah, we were, you know, exercises. No, you were waving to Jesus. Oh, there's my wife. Okay, I'm going to cut this and come back. I just want to, yeah, look at my beautiful wife. Oh, okay, I'll be right back. I got to kiss her and say goodbye to her. She's headed out. Hey, thank you. I'm not going to say sorry about that, because she's just the joy in my heart. That's her, the kids, our grandson, even our dog, our home, you know, all these great things that, you know, I'm just so thankful, so thankful. I can't wait to get to the place to where I tell you how she and I met. It will blow you away. Really, it'll blow your mind. It just, gosh, we've been married 43 years, and you just, it's just, oh, she is the greatest thing ever. She loves me. And I told her when we started getting serious, I opened up the suitcase of the baggage, and I told her everything. And because I thought, you know, she needs to hear this, because she may just say, you know, you're a nice guy, but I'm going to move on. And she didn't. She loves me. And I was married once before, and I didn't do that. And I had just become a Christian, and we were full of kind of, you know, piss and vinegar faith. It was just like hot to touch type of thing. But we, I should have, but I didn't. Anyway, it didn't last, and everything. And then, and I honestly thought, you know what, I'm never going to get married again, ever get married again, until Deb came along, and I was just like, gosh, you know what, this is my stomach was in knots, because I thought, I'm gonna tell her. I'm gonna tell her the whole thing, everything, and she didn't even have to think about it. Yeah, and it was like maybe 15 months we got married, and it's been happily ever after. Praise God. Anyway, let me get back. So this girl's mom, she's just got a soul. Like, and she goes, "You were waving to God. God was watching you wave. He loves that. And do you know that He loves you?" And she's telling us about Jesus, and she's, she is. I swear, at least my head's crooked. I wonder if I have a crooked head. Anyway, so, yeah, and so next thing, I mean, that little gathering thing that this lady was having, it evolved to where, I mean, it went for a long time to a point where at one, it went on. It was pretty cool. And then, gosh, where am I headed from this? She had, I still didn't have my license, so I wasn't 16, but she confronted me and was like, "What happened?" We're sitting in this coffee shop called Sambo's, and we're at Sambo's, and she reaches over and grabs my hands, and she goes, "What happened?" And I looked at her and I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And she's like, "No, what happened?" I go, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Tell me." She's like looking into me, right? "Tell me, what happened?" And there was a point, man, where I just, I don't want to call it like a connection or something, but she was looking into me there. And I just started crying. And I told her the whole thing. And I told her that he'll kill my mom and dad. He'll kill my brother. He would, he said he'd kill himself. He would blow his head off, if it came to that. And anyway, she drove me home after we had coffee at Sambo's, and she pointed at the house, and so she saw the house. She called she called not a whole lot longer after. Said she and her husband were talking, could she come by and pick me up? They would both like to talk to me. And again, there's somebody called my 14, 15-year-old, my young teenager, and said, "Hey, she's probably in her 40s. Hey, I'm this 40-something-year-old woman, and my husband and I want to talk to you. I'm going to come." You know what? I would have told my kids, "Well, no, tell them to come over here because I want to be present. I want to know what they're talking about." But, I didn't even tell my folks. I mean, that was the home I was raised in. And anyway, she came by, picked me up, took me over there. I remember her daughter, the one I was interested in, came in, and anyway, and then they said they wanted to talk to me privately and everything, and so I think she left. I think she left. Or something. But it was just the three of us, me and this couple, and they said that there is. He was either like a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a therapist or something that went to their church, that went to a different church, but he had gone to their church to speak, and they wanted to pay for me to see him a few times, or several times, whatever they could afford to do, and that they were completely cool with keeping it away from my folks, because if my folks would know, then my folks would find out, my folks would pursue it, this guy would kill him. They respected all of that, and and it wasn't just like a tall tale, you know. I mean, it was, oh, shoot, sorry. So I think I went to this guy either 2 or 3 times. It's Dr. Ken Olson. He had an office. It was like 32nd Street and Lincoln Drive, I think is where it was. Just a little office. And anyway, so, but you know, this the load, the heavy load, you know, that kind of stuff is, anyway, it F's you up, you know, it really does. It makes life difficult, and so, you know, anyway, eventually, I mean, I went through high school. I did really well, actually. I did good in high school. Kind of finished early, but my senior year, I took a bunch of PE classes for lifting weights and for different stuff that I didn't have to do, but it was fun. It kept me away from my house, from my home. My brother was in college when I was a senior and stuff, and so I was the only kid at home, and my mom was drinking more, and so anyway, I went in the Army, and then, you know, what if I got there? I restarted the video, and so I'm looking at this. I'm like, 2 minutes, but it's 2 minutes on this video. Yeah. So, you know, the Army. I loved school. I really did. I loved high school. I had good friends. And you know what's funny? I just got to throw this in there. This is total interjection. And if you haven't noticed by now, when I was a kid, they diagnosed it as hyperactivity. They didn't call it ADHD. That sounds like an upgraded TV screen. But I never took medication, anything like that. I take some vitamins and stuff, but my wife and I do. But they sure don't help my memory. What in the world was I gonna say? My gosh. High school was like a sanctuary. It kept me away from home, and it was it felt good to be away from home. And so, you know, and my brother was on a full ride scholarship for football. My dad sent him money and asked me not to mention it to my mom. My mom sent my brother money, and she asked me not to mention it to my dad. My brother was making out real well, and no surprise there. But and all on it, I couldn't afford to go to college, you know, and so I think my whole dream thing was to be a cop. Anyway, I joined the Army then, and my I was a military policeman, and that was exciting. I lived in Germany for 3 years, and I think my training was in Anniston, Alabama, and at Fort McClellan, and the Army was just amazing. It had order, it had structure, it had safety. It had, I think everybody should be in the military. Neither of my kids went into the military, but in all honesty, it's because I didn't like the commander-in-chief at the time. I don't want to get political, but I just, I didn't trust the leadership at the time. And so, anyhow, um, so I worked, I had 3 duty stations in Germany. Each one was a promotion, but my third one was in Wiesbaden, and I worked at the Polizeipräsidium. And, and so, ich werde ein Dolmetscher. And so, I was kind of like a liaison between German police and military police. And so I worked at the police presidium, the headquarters in Wiesbaden. It was great. Oh my gosh. And those cops, they took care of me. They did. I was like an object, I think. And so, and the detectives, oh my gosh, they were like the epitome of cool. And at the end of the stint in the military, they were going to give me a big sign-up bonus. I mean, back then it was huge because it was 1979, but I was also offered a dual citizen thing where I could work with the German police, the German law enforcement, and there was this black guy that was he was biracial. He was super cool, really cool, and he worked for the German police. He was a detective, and I got to shadow him. The military let me shadow him for I think I got to shadow him for like 2 or 3 days, because that was kind of their pitch to. That sounded like a gunfire. Oh, I hope not. God, this world is getting worse. Why would somebody be? Anyway, I didn't take it. What had happened is on one of my shifts, I was riding. I was with the. It was slow in the office, and so I was riding with the German police, and we were going up to this Greek Orthodox church. It was middle of the night, and the parking lot was just huge, and it was big enough they were drag racing. These guys drove BMWs and Mercedes, and it was a lot of fun. And they called it the Golden Domes, and there was this call that came over the radio. I'm wearing a uniform, okay, just fatigues and stuff, but I was wearing a uniform, and they got a call over the radio that Willie Schmidt, he was this guy with the Baader-Meinhof gang, was spotted in a place. And so they just converged, and they told me, stay down, stay in the car, because you're American military uniform. You're like a target if these guys wanted to make a point. But anyway, but they just went in there and just and they got him, and they just held him up by his hair. He's dead, and snap picture. And by sunrise, they had these like posters, playbills, that they put up on all these different places saying, Baader-Meinhof gang, here's your Willie Schmidt. And it had his picture, this dead man's face on this, and then it had a phone number for info. And sure enough, somebody saw the picture and just was overwhelmed and called, and they made a huge bust based on that. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and close for now, and I would like it if you would like this video, and if you would subscribe, and share it. If you would please share it, and if you would also accept my thanks. Thank you for watching this and listening to me, listening to this old guy. I love you.